Good morning, student. Uh, I am Kiran Manolia, TGT Social Science, Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Puneshwar, Tikangad. Here I am going to present e-content for subject Social Science, Class 8, Social and Political Life, Part 3rd, Chapter 7, Understanding Marginalization. So, student, here I am going to teach you your 7th chapter, Understanding Marginalization. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss on this some topics, and your first topic is being socially marginalized. After that, we'll see the story of Soma and Heren. Then, who are Adivasi? After that, Adivasi and stereotyping. Then we will discuss on Adivasi and development. After that, we will see minority and marginalization. Then after, we will discuss on the Muslim and marginalization. So student, here you see there are different type of new terms you see here, like Adivasi, like stereotyping, minorities, marginalization, Muslims and marginalization. So we are going to discuss in this all these topics in this chapter. In this picture you see groups of people, they like that there are some movement, they their movement for their this there are some demands against the government. So you can from this picture you can see, you can understand what we have to going to discuss in this chapter. So first of all, we have your chapter name is Understanding Marginalization. So student, what is marginalization? So marginalization is a term that is this is the process whereby something or someone is outside to the edge of a group and accorded lesser importance. It means when a group of people or communities are excluded from the majority because of their language, their customs, their religion, it is called marginalization. It means people those who are have very much less given less importance from the dominant society, from the majority society of the people. So they have pushed out their corner. They have not in the center of the society, but they lived in the corner, they pushed out. So these type of people have given very less importance by the society, by the majority group of the society. And in this country, because this is predominantly a social phenomena by which a minority or subgroup is excluded and their needs for desired ignored. It means this type of people is totally excluded, and all over their needs, their desire, everything is ignored by the society, by the country, by the dominant people. So in our country there are different type, there are two types of groups of people, they are marginalized, that is Dalit and Muslims. It is called marginalized because this is example of Dalit or Muslim of marginalization, who are considered minorities communities. So marginalization means those people are very less importance of our society, and they lived in the corner side, the corner, they not in the center. Our next topic is, so what does it mean to be socially marginalized? So people, what does socially marginalized? So marginalized people are not only marginalized, but it is very much socially boycotted. They are, it is to marginalized to be forced to occupy the sides of phrases and thus not to be the center of things. So this type of marginalized people's groups are viewed with hostility and fear. We see this type of people with hostility and fear. We think these type of people are very not between us. So there is a sense of difference and exclusion which leads to communities not having access to resources and opportunities and their inability to assert their rights. So student, you already remember in your class 6 like Kantabai, Bhimrao Ambedkar, Om Prakash Valmiki type of example you can recall, remember that they are very much experiences a difference, discrimination, the exploitation and exclusion, and by the dominant society, major society. And this type of people having very less resource and very less opportunity, so they are inability to assert their rights because they are bigger, even less importance. They are not valued, given value to the dominant society. So to make certain groups in society feel marginalized, there are economic factor, there are social factor, culture. Student, when you go through your NCERT book, Social and Political Life, 7th chapter, Understanding Marginalization, this you found a very nice story of Soma and Helen. And these two girls, Soma and Helen, belongs to a Adivasi family. So one day when on the 26th January Republic Day, Soma and Helen were watching parade on Republic Day with their grandfather. So when they watching the parade, then in the TV, they watch the Adivasi perform, Adivasi dance in the program. So after seeing this, they are very, the two girls are very became excited. They are Adivasi, to see the Adivasi dance, and after that they start asking questions to their grandfather. Their grandfather told them the story of his past. The he also belonged to the Santali Adivasi group, and grandfather told them how they used to own land in the past, and how they were thrown out their own area. So in the past, all the Adivasi people, tribal people live in the jungle forest, and all the forest jungle are their own property, their own everything their own. So lived, all their livelihood, all their activity depend on the forest. But how in the colonial period, after when British rule, they all this property they are losing out. They lost everything in the British period, and how they how they sold their land of the area. So our grandfather told those two girls everything about the past story of a Adivasi family there. So in this picture you see the story of Soma and Helen. Student, in this picture you can see the picture of Adivasi tribal, different type of Adivasi that is found in our country. So you see that how they lived in the forest, in the jungle, and their everything, their livelihood depend on the resource of the jungle. So this tribal people, you can see that. So when you hear Adivasi, so who are Adivasi? So student, here we going to detail about the Adivasi. So the term Adivasi refer to the original inhabitants. They are communities who lived and often continue to live in close association with forest. So Adivasi, the term literally means original inhabitants, and are communities those who lived in the forest. So all the livelihood, all their things depend on the forest resource. And a student, in our country, around 8% of India's population is Adivasi, and there are 500 different tribal groups, Adivasi groups found in our India. So they are Adivasi are not a homogeneous population, but they are different type of groups found in India. And many of the tribal people, Adivasi people in India most lived in the most important mining and industrial area are situated in Adivasi area. So in this India map you can see the four states of our India, that is Jharkhand, Odisha, Maharashtra and Karnataka. That is the dominant state of tribal people, and also the mining and industrial developed state. That is the totally depend on the tribal people there. So in our country, Adivasi are particularly found in numerous states, like there are different type of states. All the states Adivasi lived in the, like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal and Indian. And also in the north eastern sides, states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura. And in this India map, you can also see the percentages of tribal people found in the average in all the state. This is the data of 2011 census. So all of the Adivasi groups, the main Adivasi is a very important, that is the Odisha tribes. So a state like Odisha is home to more than 16 different tribal groups, and they are very much known for their culture, tradition, and practices. So Adivasi societies are also most distinctive because there is often little very hierarchy among them, and this makes them radically different from communities organized around principle of jati, varna, caste, or those who were ruled by the king. So Adivasi is a very different, very typical from us. They lived in the forest, and their hierarchy is very different different among them. Like that, they are not inspired by the principle of jati, jati vyavastha, and also in the ruled by the kings. So the Adivasis have their own tradition, their own hierarchy, their own heritage. They don't believe and believe in the caste system or Vard Vyavastha. So here you see the some picture of Adivasi of Odisha tribes. You see this picture. They are a different type of dance, their culture practices, their beautiful house, beautiful things made by the Odisha. So this shows the Adivasis culture practices, their beautiful dance and beautiful practices. So culture practice of Adivasi next slide is culture practice, because Adivasis is very much known for very much known about their culture practice, culture traditions. So Adivasi practice a range of tribal religions that are different from Islam, Hinduism, and Christianity, and their religions themselves have influenced Adivasi and development. So Adivasi and development dominant religions of their empire around them, and it is the very much so this often involves the worship of ancestors, village, and nature spirits. The last and they have associated with and residing in various cities in the landscape: mountain spirit, river spirit, animal spirit, etc. So the village spirits are often worshipped at specific sacred groves within the village boundary, while the ancestors ones are actually worshipped at home. Additionally, Adivasi have always been influenced by different surrounding religions like Shakta, Buddhist, Vaishnava, Bhakti, and Christianity. Simultaneously, Adivasi religions themselves have influenced dominant religion at the empires around them. Like example, the Jagannath culture of Odisha and Shakti and Tantric tradition in Bengal and Assam. So during the 19th century, these are the very much culture practices is very influenced the Adivasi culture worships. So substantial number of Adivasi converted to Christianity, which has emerged at a very important religion in modern Adivasi history. So most of the Adivasi have changed their religion, and they became the Christian. They adopted Christianity, Bhakti, Buddhist, and Vaishnava types of religion. After the Adivasi have their own languages, most of this radically different from and possibly as old as Sanskrit. So Adivasi language is very old before the Sanskrit. So and all of the Adivasis languages, student, as you know, Santhali has the largest number of speakers and has a significant body of communication. So population of Santhali population is the very largest population. So this is the largest number of Santhali speaking people, tribal people found in our country, and this is very much given importance of Santhali language It is one of the most scheduled language of our constitution. It gives take places, and also in our country every year there do so many newspaper and magazines published in Santhali language, and also a Santhali channel you can see in the your TV. Santhali channel, they show the various type of Santhali programs. So this is a significant body of publication of Santhali language. So the Adivasi have their own language, most of radically different, and this often deeply influenced the formation of mainstream Indian language. The Bengali Santhali has the largest number of speakers, and it is a very popular language in the tribal groups. Next, our topic is Adivasi and stereotyping. So, student, here you see the new one term stereotyping, and this stereotyping word you already already study in the class 6. Okay. So you are aware about this terms. So stereotypes are characteristics imposed upon groups of people because of their race, nationality, and sexual orientation among theirs. So in India, we usually showcase Adivasi communities in particular ways. Thus, during school function of and either official events or in the books and movies, eventually with the Adivasi portrayed in a very stereotypical ways in culture, their colorful costumes, headgears, and through their dancing. So, what is the stereotyping? So, stereotyping is a belief about certain groups of people, and that is a prejudice. Prejudice is a feeling about a person based on their membership. So we can believe, we can behave like that. This type of people, they have their own they have to believe that they want. So Adivasis are also blamed for their lack of advances, and they are believed to be resistant or to change new ideas. Beside this, and they have fixed notion or image in a group person without any regard for their individuals. So we can we already जो है behave like that the Adivasi are ऐसे Adivasi and वैसे as well as. So beside this, we seem to know very little about the realities of their lives, and this often wrongly leads to people believing that they are exotic, they are primitive, and they are backward. So Adivasi are blamed for their lack of advancement, as they are believed to be resistant to change a new idea. So we can behave like that the Adivasi are very backward, very very poor, and they don't want to mix up. They have to live their in own costumes, their own ideas. So as they are believed to be resistant to change or new ideas. So people believe that Adivasi are exotic and belong to primitive and backward background. Here in this picture you can see the Adivasi and their stereotypical attitude. Okay, this picture so portrayed you like how they decorate their head with different type of colorful headgear, their costumes, different type of colorful costumes, their earrings, their ornaments, everything, their dancing performance, everything is their typical, and these typical things differentiate with us. So we behave like this type of stereotypical and from typical to this type of tribal people. Student, our next topic is Adivasi and development. So forest covered the major part of our country, as you know, till the 19th century, and the Adivasi had a deep knowledge of access to as well as control over the most of these vast tracts of the until the middle of the 19th century. So forests plays a crucial role in the development of empire and settled civilization in India. because as you know, there are different type of various type of resources found in forest, and this resource material is very important for the development of any country. And there are different type of you see in our country, there are development of all empires and certain civilization in India. Forest plays a crucial role, and because forest provide various type of things like metal source, like iron and copper and silver and gold, invaluable timber, medicinal herbs, animal products like wax and honey, and also animals. So Adivasi had deep knowledge of forest, and open empires heavily depended on Adivasi for the crucial access to the forest resources. So in the ancient time, all the empires, kings, people, uh, um, they want to do anything from the forest. Tribal people, Adivasi people provide them, because all the forest is the property of the Adivasi, because they live there and they have very much deep knowledge about the all over the resource of the forest. So anyone have to be know want to think something from the forest, Adivasi provide. So all over the citizens and civilization and empires depends on the Adivasis and the forest resources. So this means that they were not ruled in by large states and empire. Instead, often empires heavily of depended on the Adivasi for the crucial development of the resources. So student, in the past, Adivasi was very rich. They are very powerful. They are very resourceful person of the forest covered area. But gradually, in the colonial period, in the pre-colonial world, they were traditionally raised hunter-gatherers and nomads and lived by shifting agriculture and also cultivated in one place. So they are all their livelihood they done in the forest. So although these remain for the past 200 years, Adivasi have been increasingly forced through economic changes. But in today's world, you can see that Adivasi are considered marginal and powerless communities. So why? So it's depend because that is the main reason. For the past 200 years, Adivasi has been forced through economic change, forest policies, and political force applied by state to migrate as workers. So though in British India, when British people came here and they captured all over the India, so they established forest policy, forest act, and after this forest policy, Adivasi have forcefully they have left out, they have pushed out, they have from the jungle and forest. And after that they have lost everything, they lost their home, their society. So you see that forest land have been cleaned for, and so there are various purpose of forest products are used for the in the name of development. So uh, forest land have been cleaned for timber and to get land for agriculture and industry. So Adivasi have also lived in areas that are for the minerals and natural resources. They are taken out the mining and large industrial projects. So forest land have been cleared for timber and to get land for agriculture and industry. So after that, Adivasi have to, so for the development, for the due to the development of civilization, British people during colonial period, forest lands have been cleared for various type of activities, for the agriculture, for the industry. So Adivasi tribal people have their displacement, and after that they are losing their lands and access to the forest means that tribal lose their all over thing, their main source of livelihood, and Adivasi have migrated to cities in search of food. So Adivasi have forcefully thrown out and displaced from the forest, and after that they became the condition gradually became very worse. They have forced to work in the slave labor. They have forced the construction work. They have became labor in the plantation farming, agriculture, industry, road making, construction, and everything. They have to go to the for the work for their livelihood, and so they get caught in the cycle of poverty and deprivation. So almost 45% of tribal groups in rural areas and 35% in urban areas lie below the poverty line, because they work in a very low wage. They have given very less money for their work. That's why they became poverty and poor. As a result, many tribal children are malnourished, and the result is that the tribal children are becoming malnourished, and also their literacy rate is very low among among all other people. So their economic condition, their social condition became very. So powerful forces have been collided to take over tribal land, and much of the time the land is taken away forcefully and procedures are not following. So Adivasis are left everything. They have lost everything from their forest resources. They have to go through the all over the forest. So now, according to the official figures, more than 50% of persons, Adivasi person, displaced due to mines and mining projects are tribals. Another recent survey report by organization working among Adivasis shows that 79% of the persons displaced from the states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Jharkhand, and Tripura. So, beside this, in the northeast, their land remains highly militarized and war torn. India has, as you know, India has 54 natural parks and 372 wildlife sanctuaries, covering 1,09,652 square kilometer. These are areas where tribals originally lived, but were evicted from. They have thrown out from these places. So they have to forcefully displaced from this area. So when they continue to stay in this forest, they are termed encroachers. This is the condition of tribal people nowadays. So losing their lands and access to the forest means that tribals lose their main sources of livelihood and food. Having gradually lost access to their traditional homemates, many Adivasi have migrated to cities in search of work, where they had employed in very low wages in local industries or at building or air construction sites. They have forcefully to have to do this type of work in very low wage. 45% of tribal groups in rural areas and 35% in urban areas live below in the poverty line. This leads to you see this they got caught in cycle of poverty and deprivation. Almost 45% of tribal groups and rural areas and 35% in urban areas live below the poverty line. So these are poor conditions. So the poor condition of the tribal people. As a result, many tribal children are malnourished. So children are very poor, very malnourished. They don't have any good food to eat. So and also their economic condition is very poor. That's why also their literacy rate is very low among tribals in the tribals. Their education is very poor. So when Adivasi are displaced from their lands, they lost much more than a source of income. They lose their tradition. Not only they lose their economic resources, but also they lose their tradition, their customs, their culture, practice, everything they have lost. So student, you see in this picture how Adivasi left out, thrown out from the jungle. They displaced from their own land, own area, because of the development process like construction, dams, railway construction, the factories, mining industries. In the development of the for the work, they have to displace from this area, and they after that they have nothing. They lost everything. In this picture you see in this last our pictures, how the Adivasi do different type of work they have to do in the after that. Next topic is minorities and marginalized. The term minority is most commonly used to refer to communities that are numerically small in relation to the rest of the population. In one, it encompasses issue of power, access to resources, and has social and cultural dimension. So, safeguards are needed to protect minority communities against the possibility of being culturally dominated by the majority. They also protect them from any discrimination and disadvantages that may face. The Constitution provides these safeguards because it is committed to protect India's cultural diversity and promoting equality as well as justice. So in this picture you see the some minorities people of the here that is like Muslims, and their how they realize that they are marginalized people, and they raised against their voice against the government. And next, Muslim and marginalization. Muslims are 13.4% of India's population and are considered to be a marginalized community in India. They have over the years been deprived of the benefits of social economic development of basis, amenities, literacy and public employment. Recognizing that Muslims in India were lagging behind in terms of various development indicators, the government has set up a high-level committee in 2005, that is, in the chairmanship of Rajendra Sachar Committee. That's why it is also called Sachar Committee. So this report, given the report, the community suggests that Muslims community is comparable to that of other marginalized communities like scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So in this picture you see the Muslim population of Indian state according to the 2000 census. How they realize that they are all over the state their population is very low, and so it is called minorities people. That's why they raise their demands for the reservation for the Muslims, and because they realize that they are backward classes. So according to the report of the Sachar Committee, the average years of schooling for Muslim children between ages 7 to 16 is much lower than that of other social religious communities. And Muslim customs and practices such as wearing burqa and fez make them different from others. Because of this, they tend to be identified differently, and some people think they are not like the rest of us. This often becomes an excuse to treat them unfairly. This social marginalization of Muslims in some instances has led to their migration from places where they have lived, often leading to the ghettoization of the community. So in this picture you see how the Muslims looking like how they their burqa, their face topi. That seems that they are in their own condition. They do not like to come out for their situation. That's why they behave like different from others. So here one new term that is you see here, ghettoization. So what is ghettoization? Ghettoization is a ghetto, an area of locality that is populated largely by member of a particular community. Therefore, a processes that leads to such a situation. This may occur due to various social, cultural, and economic reasons. The experiences of all these groups points to the fact that marginalization is a complex phenomenon requiring a variety of strategies, measures, and safeguards to redress the situation. So every citizen has a stake in protecting the rights defined in the Constitution and the laws and policies framed to realize these rights. So without this, no one will ever be able to protect the diversity and makes one's country unique. So after the in the last conclusion, I want to say tell you that in this chapter we have learned so many new things about the Adivasi, about the minority groups like Dalits and Muslim, how they behave like a marginalized because they have not any other opportunity they have not taking advantage of the resource of our country. So they are, because they are left out there, cornered on the side, and always they behave like a backward people. So there are different reasons for each of the communities being marginalized. Each experiences marginalization in different ways. So marginalization is often linked to experiencing disadvantages, prejudice, and powerlessness. In India, there are several more marginalized communities like Dalits and Muslim. Marginalization results in having a low social status and no having equal access to education and other resources. Marginalized communities want to maintain their culture distinctiveness while having access to rights, development, and other opportunities. So, student, this is all your chapter, understanding marginalization. I hope you better understand this chapter through this presentation. Thank you.